good morning and so on. It's a really horrible day here in Wellington, New Zealand. Yeah, it's supposed to be summer, but there's some kind of frickin' howling southerly gale going on outside, and it's led to the entire city basically losing the will to live. And because I'm self-employed, I have decided that today would be a really good day to actually just work from home. So I'm coming at you live from my bedroom. And yeah, I suppose one of the things about keeping a video blog is always having things to say. And I know that anyone will post anything on the internet, so I could talk about what I had for dinner last night. But what's on top for me is that I was just reading on the internet this morning that Google is threatening to pull its censorship services from China, which is possibly quite a big deal for China. I'd say it would be an enormous deal for China, actually, because controlling the flow of information is a useful way of guaranteeing social control in a society. And I think that's probably one of my kind of big themes in life, is that kind of sense of fairness that I feel that is kind of quite sorely lacking under the present Chinese administration. And probably just as a bit of a background, and I know some of my friends watch this, so you probably already know, but I grew up in a small town that was fairly impoverished, actually. It was a bit rough. And I've kind of grown up with quite a strong sense of social justice, because a couple of things. One of them is that my mum's side of the family are Methodists, and I have to say that I'm not a particularly good Methodist, because I engage in some sexual behaviour that frankly they're not too wild about, of course that being the good old man on man loving. So there's that, and the Methodists have got a strong connection with the union movement, and my grandfather was the mayor of the small town that I grew up in, so I guess I'd always kind of had that kind of sense of, I don't know, sense politics or something have always kind of been part of my upbringing. My mum was on a union, she was on the PPTA as well, and so I always kind of have had that desire for kind of fairness within a society, I guess, or something. I don't know. That's a fucking long story. I tell you what, I paid counsellors hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to bleat about this stuff in an attempt to feel happy, which I do for the most part. Yeah, but I think that's probably one of the themes in the kind of art that I'm doing, or planning on doing, but I suppose this is kind of my process. And I don't know how much I talked about wanting to do an exhibition that focused on how machines regulate our lives, and my naive example of that is traffic lights, right? So you're in the city and traffic lights change, and it kind of affects the flow of movement. Whether or not you want to participate, you kind of have to, because cars are real big. And this whole situation with Google in China is really interesting, because that's an example of a machine being used to influence the way that people behave, because of course you don't really want people to know about the bad stuff that your regime's been doing, because then they might get angry and things like civil unrest might ensue. And so I find that whole, the whole thing with Google in China really interesting, and I'm kind of relieved as well, because it fucking sickens me that people, employees of Google and other large tech companies are complicit in basically the censorship technologies that they're providing to China. And they don't have a great human rights they don't have a great human rights record, and yeah, I don't know, I just don't think it's right, and I don't have any real kind of rational arguments about why I don't think that's right, because I understand a lot of people make money out of the Chinese economy, and I also understand that a lot of the peasants there have got a better quality of life than they had done with kind of the you know, the booming of their economy, and so on. So it's just kind of interesting to see how technology is, you know, at work there to perpetuate that. Yeah, and I guess that the theme of censorship as well, because this whole thing about me using a pseudonym, you know, is in part an effort to kind of censor myself, really, to make sure that the information that people might search for on my name, if they were interested in looking at my business, isn't going to affect people's perception of my business, because I know all about self-censorship. Yeah, so that's kind of my little rant for the morning about reading about Google in China, and kind of feeling quite happy actually with Google's decision, really, because I've been real unhappy about that situation for a while. But you know, I'm not in particularly. That's the trouble with being nobody. That I might feel strongly about it, but there's not really that much I can do. And you know, I'm complicit in it as well. I go down the warehouse and buy that cheap as crap products, and you know, I know that the Chinese industrial machine is predominantly fueled by burning coal, and that's had some pretty horrible environmental consequences for China. And it's kind of interesting as well, the way that that has been, that kind of industrial what am I trying to say here? In the Industrial Revolution in England, a lot of people were just kind of fodder to the imperial machine, and actually my great-grandfather can be included in that, because he was blinded in a mining accident, because you know, there was no OSH, there was no occupational health and safety, and they'd used a short fuse to blow some things up off the side of a quarry, and it hadn't exploded, and he was sent up by the foreman to investigate, you know, why this thing hadn't exploded, and then it exploded, and one of his workmates was killed, and he was blinded. And so basically my great-grandmother had to raise my grandfather and the 5 sisters, you know, just by herself with no income. And this is before any kind of welfare state, you know. It's and I kind of see that we've kind of moved that whole Industrial Revolution situation out of the, you know, Western democracies into communist China. So they've got, well, it seems to me that some of the working conditions over there are the bad old days for England at the turn of the 19th century. So, you know, we're just kind of moving it around. But again, you know, I know that this computer that I'm recording this on wasn't, it says on the bottom, designed in California, made in China. I'm not under any illusions about it. So yeah, it's a real crappy day in Wellington. I kind of mentioned that already. It's fucking supposed to be summer, but you know, summer really doesn't kick until February, March, and it's real disgusting. So I'm actually going to work from home today. I've got a bunch of client stuff on that I need to get done in order to pay my rent and my tax bill and everything else. So yes, so it's nice spending this time with you in the morning. My brain doesn't seem to be as kind of fired up with ideas as it was the other day. So this is a bit quieter and less ranty. Sorry, I just need to concentrate on this bit. Yeah, so I'm going to spend a lovely day inside with the gas heater on full, with my lovely pussy who is licking her twat on the bed. Dirty kitty. My pussy's licking her pussy. And that's what I'm going to do. And it looks like I've got like 45 seconds left of this recording before it hits the 10 minutes that Google doesn't like. Ah, yes, Google. There we are again. Look, see, you know, really, seriously, power and control is not posited in nation states as much as it used to be. Oh, no, it isn't. So, yes, that's me. And I'm sure I'll record some more ranting soon. Okay, kiss, kiss. No tongue.